Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 5. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, an evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come. Verse 25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 26. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. In the news from the RT, risk of U.S. recession increasing, Fed research. More American states are suffering economic declines, the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank has warned. Just over half of states in the U.S. are struggling with slowing economic activity, which could be a signal of a looming recession, according to new research from the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank. The December report pointed out that typically when 26 states demonstrate falling economic numbers, it offers reasonable confidence the nation as a whole will go into a recession. 27 states had declined activity in October, which is enough to point to a looming downturn, the authors of the report said, noting that 35 states suffered declines ahead of a short and sharp recession seen in the spring of 2020. The publication followed another report from the San Francisco Fed, which also indicated rising risk that the U.S. may fall into recession at some point in the coming months. As that paper explained, unemployment rates bottomed out and began to move higher ahead of a recession in a highly reliable pattern, which is extremely bad because the Federal Reserve's goal has been to create unemployment by increasing interest rates. In so doing, they force companies which rely on borrowing money to forward their businesses to halt doing so, and thus causing them to, rather forcing them to lay off workers. What this in turn does is that in, or I should say, it decreases velocity, which is the flow of money in the economy. When that happens, that creates a deflationary environment, which is what will bring down inflation. But because unemployment has been increasing, that will only continue to sustain and increase the flow of money within the economy, thus pushing inflation even higher. So inflation was never transitory, as they stated in the first place. And by the way, gold has been seeing spikes, which is a sign that the dollar is getting weaker. And countries have been moving away from the US dollar. That's also another indicator. So a lot of different things are happening. This article reads on to say, when this shift occurs, it signals the onset of a recession in about 8 months. Right. The report noted that the U.S. Federal Reserve is expecting the national jobless rate to rise this year. Why? Because that's their goal. That's been their goal this entire time. Hence the reason why they've been increasing interest rates, so that they may create a deflationary environment to combat against rising inflation. However, the labor market has been persistent, and this has only been pretty much sustaining and fueling inflation, which will justify further need for the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates even further. Okay, which will throw the economy into a recession. It says, adding that if the Fed's forecast comes to pass, such an increase, see that? There you go. Such an increase would trigger a recession prediction based on the unemployment rate. Economists have been rising concerns lately over the prospect of the U.S. economy sliding downward, mostly due to the Fed's forceful actions on inflation. So the Fed will be justified to increase interest rates even more. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, which that guy is, he's funny, man. However, said in December that he didn't view the regulator's current outlook as a recession prediction, given the expectation that growth would remain positive. Okay. I don't think anyone knows whether you're going to have a recession or not. Well, it's very obvious for those that understand how economics works. Okay, all these different nomics or not, and if we do, whether it's going to be a deep one or not, it's not knowable, which is bullshit. He's just pretty much playing, semantics. They know because they engineered it. Anyway, that concludes the article. In other news, also from the RT, McDonald's faces job cuts. More UK retailers risk going bust in 2023. U.S. state encourages schools to deceive parents. Published yesterday. Oregon's Department of Education has suggested children's gender identities be kept a secret from their families, which is wicked. A child's identity is already defined when they're born. And even in the womb, when the parents, they go to the hospital to check the child's gender, male or female. There's no other gender beyond that. You're either a male or you're either a female. Okay, according to the Bible, according to nature, according to logic. The Oregon Department of Education has come under fire for a document published on Thursday titled Supporting Gender Expansive Students. The word expansive means to expand. Okay. And they attempt to do these things during a child's latency period, a period when they're developing their personality types, respectively. Okay. The highway to puberty, if you will. Supporting gender expansive students. Guidance for schools, which appears to counsel school staff to help students conceal their expansive gender identities from their parents, which this is absolute wickedness. If a student declares a new gender identity, the guide instructs on what does a child have to do with knowing these so-called different identities that Esau created in their transformer community. What the hell is going on with that? Oh goodness Lord, man. It says the guide instructs school districts to immediately begin treating them in accordance with that identity. So they're pushing that spirit of Baphomet and androgyny, and they're getting them while they're young. This man is wicked, man. Informing teachers of their new name and pronouns, see? And updating their name and school records. However, schools shouldn't run to the students' parents with their child's decision, according to the guide. So parents are going to be pretty much left in the dark. If that's the case, especially fathers. To the extent possible, schools should refrain from revealing information about a student's gender identity, even to parents. It states nothing that students might have privacy concerns about students. School staff, community members, or their families finding out because they are ready to share their identity more widely. Man, I cannot even read the rest of this article. Shit is freaking wickedness, man. The guide also encourages litigiousness. Now, what is litigiousness? Unreasonably prone to go to law to settle disputes. Wow. Recommending staff, parents, or students who witness what they believe to be harassment over gender identity or sexual orientation to file a Title IX discrimination complaint. Such discrimination could involve a trans student denied the opportunity to play on a sports team that most aligns with their gender, or failure to provide a gender non-confirmation student with their desired bathroom facilities or peer rooming assignments on field trips. And staff are encouraged to undergo special training in order to be able to better recognize such issues. I will conclude reading this article there, and that concludes the news articles from RT. Let's move on now to the Sputnik and then conclude the lesson. 6%. Over 500,000 consumers in California left without power due to storm. Over 500,000 consumers in California are left without power due to an atmospheric river storm that hit the state on the west coast of the United States. The monitoring service power outage that U.S. said on Sunday. As of 9:30 GMT, 556,374 people are left with no electricity, according to the website. The U.S. National Weather Service stated on Thursday that an atmospheric river was moving towards the west coast of the country. The storm has caused serious snowfalls, heavy showers, and floods in California. On Thursday, almost 160,000 residents were left without power. A powerful windstorm swept through California on Wednesday. According to Volunteer Fire Department Chief Ron Lunarade, an infant died in Sonoma County when a tree crushed his home. A 19-year-old girl also died in the state on Wednesday, according to the Fairfield Police Department. The local newspaper, Sacramento Bee, reported that the death toll from the storm in California had reached 6. So California is experiencing power outages, okay? Left without power due to the storm. So that concludes the articles, and now let's conclude the lesson, Lord's willing. Again, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7, verse 25. Distraction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So when people will attempt to seek peace during the days of evil, that is when destruction will come. And when they're going to be promised peace, according to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction, that's when destruction will come suddenly upon them. Okay, while they are settled at peace and comfort. Okay, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So destruction cometh, again it reads, and they shall seek peace. And when they're going to be promised peace, that's when destruction will come upon them suddenly, and it will overtake them. And there shall be none. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest. So these false prophets, whom our people look up to, they won't have the answers. Creflo Dollar, or rather I should say Creflo Give Me Your Dollar, TD Fakes, okay, Joel Osteen, all these other false prophets, false leaders our people look up to, Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, all these different guys, Al Sharpton, all these different leaders whom our people look up to for leadership, for guidance, they won't have the answers. They themselves will be in derision, in fact. But the law shall perish from the priests and counsel from the ancients, because during those days, the Lord is going to hide his true prophets. The Lord is going to hide his knowledge. And people will be running to and fro, according to Amos 8:11, to seek out the words of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, but will not be able to find it. So with that, I will conclude this lesson. Lord's willing, was edifying and informative. Until the next, Lord's willing, I say shalom to the elect. Shalom.